of my favorite things to do with my mother is lie to my sisters. For the longest time, my mom and I will do this thing where I'll call my mom and I'll tell her what to say in the family group chat or what to say to like a specific sister just to like really piss them off. And it's so my mom coded. Like I just have her voice in my head so well. Every time we do it, it sounds like some crazy shit that my mother would actually say, and my sisters believe it every time. A couple days ago, my mom sent these horrendous photos of my sisters and I, like one of those like weird family photos that she makes us take during the holidays, and she was like, this is gonna be our Christmas card. I was like, wait a damn minute, I'm going to edit this as if it is my mother like editing it herself, and we're gonna send it back to them, and I'm just gonna be in my mom's ear of what she should say to them the entire time. I think they know it's me by this point, but they literally just don't. Here is the photo I edited. It says Dina and the girls, because my mom would say some weird shit like that, and then it says Merry Christmas, #Jesus forever. Listen, I had to add the Jesus forever because you guys know my mom's newfound love for Jesus has fucking taken over like this in everything. I get Bible quotes every damn day. Whatever. I was like, this is so my mom coded. Like my sisters are obviously gonna believe that she put #Jesus forever. Just like so fucking insane of them like to actually believe that. But it gets 30 times worse. How Christmas cards usually have like a little blurb about how like a specific family member is doing. Maybe that was from my weird fucking hometown, but it would have like a little paragraph about like how each child was doing, like what's new with them. I really took it over the edge with the paragraphs about them. For my oldest sister Kaylee, I did her boyfriend broke up with her in late September, but she recently bought a home. #proud mom. So I put her age as 29. Kaylee is fully 27. I just did to be like, just like really fuck with Kaylee because my mom would not know her age. You know, my mom would do some dumb shit like that. Then for me, I did Livy, 24, moving to LA again, gets a lot of free makeup, still single. I gotta be in on the fucking joke so I can like be the one in the group chat to my sisters like, mom is so crazy, like mom is insane kind of thing. And my mom would say some dumb shit like, still single, it's been like 6 years, she's really just only focused on herself. Actually, she scares all men away. Like my mom genuinely would put that in a Christmas card. What I said for Sissy is my favorite. Ara, 26, oldest that she's ever been, NYC resident. Equate literally nothing. Like there's literally nothing to hers, but me and Kaylee have like a whole thing. But Sissy's just like, no, she lives in New York and she's the oldest that she's ever been. The best is the one I did for my mother. Dina, 60. I just turned 60 and I feel fabulous as ever. Jesus blessed me with the man of my dreams this year. I love my girls, but I see myself settling down with this man. He is my forever. Because how clinically fucking insane. And my mom literally would put that in a Christmas card, like, met my forever man. So I send it to my mom and we immediately put it in the group chat. Mom's like, this year's Christmas cards, girl. Immediately they're like, what the fuck? Kaylee's like, I'm literally 27 and I'm in my mom's ear. We're on the phone. I'm like, this is what you need to say. Like, I'm 27, mom. Like, what the fuck? And my mom's like, oh, who cares? Like, Kaylee, who gives a fuck how old you actually are? And Kaylee's like, wait, why is there nothing about Sissy? And my mom's like, there's just like not much about her. Sissy's like, what the fuck is wrong with that photo? Like, you literally can't send that to anybody. And I have my mom being like, what is Allie's email? I need to send it to her family. Like, her family needs to receive our Christmas card. And my sisters are like, what the fuck? Don't send that. Like, they're literally more worried about the fact that it's a horrible photo. And like, that's the reason I edited that, like, because it is like the weirdest photo ever. I called Sissy today and I was like, oh my God, like mom's Christmas card was crazy. And she was like, I literally just like can't even at this point. These bitches are so used to my mom being clinically insane that it like, Sissy barely even batted an eye. She's like, yeah, I can't deal. Like, Sissy, she's gonna send that out. Sissy's like, I just let mom do whatever the fuck makes her happy at this point. I like need to have my mom send it to their friends or something so it feels a little bit more real to them.
My recently engaged friend implied that I wasn't engaged because my boyfriend doesn't actually want to get married after being together for 3 years, and I'm upset because I'm scared that she's right. My friend Elise, 29 female, is engaged to Rick, 32, and I, 29 female, am dating Luke, 31 male. Elise and Rick have been engaged for a year, together for 2, and I've been with Luke for 3 years. So, Elise and Rick had their engagement party on Sunday afternoon. I was chatting with Elise, looking at her ring, and I'm not going to lie, I felt a bit of envy. Luke and I have talked about marriage, but we haven't even looked at rings yet. He says he wants to marry me though, but I do think it's taking a long time. So, I asked Elise what made Rick propose to her, like how it happened. She told me that on their first date, she told him that she had a deadline. I asked what she meant, and she said that she told Rick she wasn't going to wait around for 2, 3, 4, 5 years for a man. Any man, not him in particular. She said she wants kids with the right guy, but didn't want to have kids without a stable marriage and a house. Well, they have a house and now are getting married. Another one of her friends, I don't know her age, but I'll call her Heidi, said she was shocked they didn't make Rick run for the hills. Elise laughed and said, well, it wasn't an ultimatum, it was a fact. If after 2 years you still can't tell if I'm the one, then I'm clearly not, and I'll be moving on. I told Elise that if I told Luke that, he would leave me. That's when Elise said that Luke probably isn't the right one then, if after 3 years he'd leave me for expecting marriage. That hurt my feelings, so I told her that marriages don't always last and it doesn't mean that someone isn't the one just because they propose. She said she wasn't worried, that she and Rick were in love and knew life would not be easy, but she's prepared to make it work. She also said that she knows marriage isn't for everyone, which is fine, so as long as your partner feels the same, but that marriage is a value of hers, and she wasn't going to waste time with someone who clearly didn't have the same values as her. That's when Heidi asked me what my problem was. I told her I didn't have a problem, just stating a fact. Then Heidi asked how long I've been with Luke. I said 3 years. And she asked if I wanted to get married. I said yes, and when she asked about what Luke wanted, I just excused myself to the restroom. Not much else happened at the party, but when Luke and I left, I told him about the conversation. Luke laughed and called Elise ridiculous. I asked what he meant, and he said, verbatim, "Only desperate and crazy women have a policy like that. Let it happen when it feels right." So I asked him if he wanted to marry me, to which he said of course, and I asked him why we weren't engaged when we've been together for longer. He said he wasn't ready yet and our relationship is fine the way it was. I asked how long did he have to wait to know, and he shrugged and said, "Does it matter? We're together and that's what's important." The conversation paused for a minute and then Luke asked me not to be like Elise. He said he doesn't like being forced to do something. I asked him if Rick felt that way. He's good friends with Rick. He admitted that Rick never said he felt forced and that he had been planning to propose to Elise 6 months after they met, but waited a bit to make sure he wasn't just jumping into something. I asked Luke if it would be okay for me to look at rings. He said I could, but not to get my heart set on anything because he wasn't ready, and he said that even if he wasn't willing to spend more than $1,500 on an engagement ring. Elise's ring obviously cost more than that. I never asked her how much it was, but center diamond is 2 carats and the rest of the band is covered in diamonds. I remember she was asked once about how much it was. She wouldn't answer, but said that Rick bought her a ring that he wanted her to love and did not care about the price. He found the ring she'd like, looked at the price, and saved the money to purchase it debt-free. I didn't mention that to Luke, but her telling me that came back when Luke said that he was only willing to spend $1,500 on a ring I'm not even allowed to really look for. I'm not sure why, but the conversation with Luke and Elise has made me very sad. I'm slightly angry at Elise for her implications, but mostly, I'm disappointed in Luke based on our conversation Sunday. He hasn't mentioned it since this weekend, but it's all I can think about. Did Elise go about it the right way? Is Luke wasting my time? Both of those conversations Sunday had me feeling like something's off. Long story short, we broke up. Several comments said I needed to communicate what I wanted clearly to Luke. So I took an hour to write out what I really wanted in the next couple of years and then told Luke the night I posted the first thread. I told him that after 3 years, we should be seriously considering the next step. I told him that I wanted kids, and with my age, I'm scared of the health problems and complications, especially with COVID overtaking the hospitals around us. I told him that before we buy a house, we were looking, that I want to be at least engaged like Elise and Rick were. That's not a comparison per se, but I reflected on this, and I think buying a house with a boyfriend who can't tell me when he wants to be engaged isn't very smart. Elise and Rick were engaged when they bought their house, so were several of our married friends, and I realized that that's the minimum stage in our relationship that I want to be in before purchasing a home. Luke's reaction was not pleasant. He told me he felt like I was trapping him in a corner and demanding a ring when I wasn't. I told him that I wanted to plan to see if we were on the same page, but I wasn't expecting a ring tomorrow or anything, just over the next year or so. He told me that he'll propose when he's ready, and me bringing it up over and over again is making him not want to do it because he thinks that I just want a ring, but I don't. I want a family, but I don't want to be one of those women who has a kid with a man who doesn't actually want the same things I do. I told him that he doesn't seem like he wants to get married, and that's when he said it. Luke told me that he wants to get married, but admitted he didn't know anymore if he wanted to marry me in particularly. When I asked why, he said he doesn't think that I have enough ambition. Luke wants to get a promotion at his job. He works in marketing. He's going to school for his master's, and he's into self-improvement like going to the gym and eating healthier and mental health books. He said he felt like I just wanted marriage and kids and that I would be a stay-at-home mom, which he doesn't want me to do. He wants me to work, but I work as a secretary for his psychology service. Luke makes almost 3 times as much as I do, and I don't want to go back to school. I hated it the first time, and I can't afford to do it again even if I wanted to. Plus, I love my job. Great pay, great benefits, and my bosses and coworkers are really cool. But he told me that was an excuse. He doesn't want to be tied to someone who is, as he said, okay with just being okay, and that he wants more than that out of life. I was angry because I feel like I've asked him this before, and he always said that he wants to marry me. I did tell him before that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom if financially we could afford it, and I guess he didn't want me to be. So I told him that I was done with the conversation and have been staying at a friend's house. I've messaged him a couple times to try to talk to him since, but he only responds saying that he thinks we're on different pages and that the relationship needs to be done so we can find what we want. I'm really sad and upset, and I feel like I wasted my time and Elise was right. Luke took our relationship status off of Facebook, and a ton of people have been asking what happened. His response to my text messages also just seems so cold. From what I've heard from mutual friends, he sounds like he's doing okay and went out Friday night.
Story time about how this guy was cheating on his girlfriend with me. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 10th grade. And one day one of my friends, Josh, decided to expose this kid named Caden because this guy, Caden, posted on his Snapchat story, anybody who's 14 and younger, unadd me. I find it so weird that you little girls are swiping up on my stories calling me cute. So my best friend, Josh, decides to expose this man and he's like, weren't you just hanging out with a 12-year-old the other day? It makes sense. So, I only add Caden because I was gonna tell him that he's gross and disgusting for hanging out with 12-year-olds. But after he sent me a picture of his face saying hi, I immediately fell in love with this man. I know this looks bad. Trust me. I Anyways, when I started talking to this kid, I really thought that he was on some fuckboy type shit. He was actually super sweet and really kind. He never asked me for nudes or anything. He also told me that he was single, so him and I start flirting. And y'all, I really thought that this man was about to be my husband. Now, of course, I low-key doubted him a little bit, so I ended up taking screenshots of every one of our messages. Well, him and I had never actually met in person, but we did have plans to meet up that weekend. So a few days before him and I are supposed to meet up, all of a sudden he literally went ghost. I didn't hear from him all day. And then when I go to Snapchat him, bro has me blocked on almost everything. He had me blocked on Instagram as well, but he had 2 accounts on Instagram and he forgot to block me on the one. And Instagram really snitched on this man. Because when I clicked on his Instagram, it had the suggested accounts. Some girl with a profile picture of him and her popped up. And she had their date in her bio. They have been dating for a whole fucking year. Well, obviously I'm finna tell her that her man was cheating on her, but whenever I add her on Snapchat, she immediately sends me a message that says, if this is about Caden, I don't want to hear it. So instead of talking to her about Caden, I literally just sent her all of the screenshots from these past 2 weeks that him and I have been talking. The only thing I said after that was, he's been cheating on you with me. So then she literally just responds with a video of them and she's like, okay, thank you. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I personally wouldn't stay with him, but to each their own. Anyways, so fast forward, they're still together, and I'm still blocked on everything.
My wife stole our daughter's college money to fund her shopping addiction and wants me to take the blame. Originally posted December 13th, 2022. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place and I don't know what to do. And the problem is I can't discuss this with anyone I'm close with for privacy reasons. I've been with my wife, Andrea, 48 female, and my stepdaughter, Cassie, 17 female, for 8 years now. I love them both to death. But Cassie is a very brilliant young woman. Recognizing her potential, me and Andrea decided to put together a college fund for Cassie so she wouldn't be crushed by debt. Over the years, it has amounted to over $200,000. Cassie is aware of this and is banking on it since she's trying to get into the Ivy League. To make a long story short, last week I found out that almost $170,000 of the money was missing from the account. I freaked the F out and asked Andrea if she knew anything about it. She teared up and said that she had been spending the money over the years to fund her spending habit. I was furious, but I had a moment of clarity. I've browsed these subs enough to know that an affair was possible, so I asked her if she was having one. She adamantly denied it and offered any proof that I needed. Social media accounts, emails, her work phone, everything. She offered to show me the receipts as well. There was nothing that popped out as suspicious, and the math from the receipts added up as well, so I let it go. But we still had the major problem of the money being gone. She described herself as a shopping addict, and the money from Cassie's account was just too tempting not to use. She didn't make excuses, but offered no solutions. As stated before, I was beyond furious. She ruined Cassie's chances at going to college debt-free and has changed the trajectory of her entire life. I had asked her to stay with her sister while I tried to figure this out. Cassie was concerned about why she was leaving, but we just said we needed a little bit of space. I asked Andrea to come back home yesterday, and we had an extremely long discussion about how to handle this. She stopped me from talking and asked a favor of me. She asked if I could take the fall for her. For context, she and Cassie don't get along for a variety of reasons. And knowing how independent Cassie is, she will probably leave right after college if not during. In fact, me and Cassie get along very well and she comes to me for a lot of her issues. Andrea fears this will permanently drive Cassie away and she doesn't want to lose her. I told her that before we even talk about that, she needed to acknowledge her mistake and own it. She needed to go to individual therapy, we needed couples counseling, she needed to find a shopaholic support group, and that I would be controlling the finances from now on. She said those terms were steep but fair. I said she needed to tell Cassie what she did, apologize, and hope for the best. She refused and said that she could never lose Cassie. She said I could survive the mistake, but she couldn't. I told her that in order to even consider me taking the fall, she needs to agree to my terms. I don't know what the hell to do, clearly. The last thing I want to do is lie to Cassie, but I don't want Andrea and Cassie to split up forever. And the worst part about this whole thing is that Cassie's life is ruined either way. And I don't know how to replenish the money other than maybe borrowing from my 401k. Reddit, do you have any suggestions? Divorce is always an option, but I love Andrea despite her mistakes, and me dating at age 52 is next to impossible. Edit, after everyone here knocked some sense into me, I realized I can't lie to Cassie. I love her too much and she deserves the absolute truth, no matter how ugly and hard that is. I will be talking to Andrea and telling her that we need to tell Cassie the truth together as a condition of us staying together, or else I will initiate divorce proceedings and tell Cassie anyway. Also, as someone suggested, I don't need her trying to flip the script on me, so I'll record our interactions going forward. Thanks. Edit 2, same post, December 14th, 2022, next day. I want to thank everyone here for really opening my eyes yesterday. You're all right. I need to put Cassie first, and like I said, I'll be telling the absolute truth even if she gets mad at me and disowns me. At least I'll know I did the right thing. In addition, I'm going to pay for her college myself. I can pull money from a couple of places, such as my retirement and inheritance, so it'll be okay. I'll have to live a little frugally during retirement and work a few extra years, then so be it. Cassie is worth it. I honestly doubt her mother is going to sell her stuff, so that's why I'm taking this route. As for Andrea, I've been criticized for wanting to let Andrea off the hook, so to speak. But it's easy to say when really deep feelings aren't involved. That being said, I don't think I can stay with her. What she did is horrendous, and she ruined our daughter's future for her addiction. We had a long discussion last night, and I threatened divorce unless she told Cassie the truth. She begged me not to do this, but I put my foot down, and eventually she agreed. But only if I agreed not to divorce, and I helped to repair their relationship. So she doesn't know how to accept responsibility or hold herself accountable for anything or clean up her own messes at all. Noted. I likely won't be doing either. She made her bed so she can sleep in it. So if I have to update, I'll probably just make a whole new post. Thanks a lot, guys. Relevant comments. How could you have not noticed? Weren't you getting a 1099 and noticing less interest? To answer your question, I really had nothing to do with the account other than contributing money. I just took her word for it. She showed me statements from time to time, so I had no reason to suspect anything. Plus, we have separate finances except for a joint account for household expenditures and bills. Although Cassie is my daughter, officially, I'm only stepdad. So Andrea handles all matters related to her finances unless Cassie asks me for something directly. Also, I wasn't the lone contributor. Her grandparents on both sides contributed as well as my own parents. I only discovered what was going on when my wife left a statement out in the open. I'm now believing she simply pocketed whatever money she got and doctored the statements. I knew the amount that was supposed to be there because a lot of the money came in the beginning. Her grandparents initially contributed $75K, mine contributed another $30K, and the amount that I had added over the years. Don't take from your savings to pay Cassie back, take from your wife's. I asked her to take money from her accounts to pay her back. She said protecting her retirement is important to her and that she could take out a loan since her credit is excellent. Surprisingly enough, she doesn't run up her credit cards. Now I know how. Also, I'm hesitant to do this. I understand everyone wants her to fry for this, and I do too. However, if I'm to stay with Andrea, I don't want her to have to continue working until she's dead. I would like to enjoy our retirement together. My retirement is very healthy, plus I have a few investments and an inheritance. I could survive the hit. The most important thing is Cassie gets to go to whatever school it is she wants and not have to worry about it. The comments are right. I'm not letting Andrea off the hook. She's going to pay for this, and she will be telling Cassie why Andrea and Cassie don't get along. Andrea is a widow, and Cassie took the death of her father very hard since she was so young. According to Andrea, a lot of their problems started there out of grief and anger. Then Cassie grew up, and she's developed into a bit of a tomboy. Andrea is kind of a girly girl and doesn't relate to Cassie dressing up tomboyish. They don't agree on much. Cassie wants to be a physicist. Andrea wants her to do something that has more money-making potential. Plus, there's usual teenage daughter and mother strife. They have screaming matches that I have to intervene in. Update the 17th of December 22. Update, my wife stole our daughter's college money to fund her shopping addiction and wants me to take the blame. I want to start this by thanking everyone who replied to me in the original post. Y'all showed me tough love and I appreciate that. I even appreciate those who were calling me a doormat because like I said in the previous post, it woke me up. I won't be staying with Andrea. She's lied and manipulated me and Cassie far too long for me to stay with her. The fact that she stole from me, Cassie, and Cassie's grandparents makes this as close to unforgivable as it gets. The most wronged party here is Cassie. She has an amazing future ahead of her, and I refuse to let her future go to waste because my wife made such selfish choices. I did notice all the stuff she was buying. She claimed that they were either on sale or because she got a work bonus. She makes a very good living, and I thought she was responsible with money, so I said, all right. I did ask why she needed so many Christian Louboutin shoes. She shrugged it off. And although people can't wrap their heads around it, it's very easy to spend $170K. A large chunk of the money went to buy a Mercedes, which I thought was a lease. She had a 7-year-old Lexus that, according to her friends were laughing at. Keeping up appearances for her wealthy friends is very important to her. Cassie and Andrea do not get along for a variety of reasons. Allegedly, Cassie takes a lot after her deceased father, and Andrea can't relate to her at all, or maybe doesn't try hard enough. Cassie prefers to talk to me. We have parent/child boundaries, but Cassie considers me one of her best friends. Her words, not mine. I realized taking the fall was her manipulating me, plus it would have opened me up to a crap ton of consequences that I don't need to deal with. Plus, honesty is always the best policy. I wasn't thinking properly in my last post, and I was afraid to be alone and single. I guess I have some issues being alone that I need to address. Plus, I really do love Andrea. We connect in a very deep way, but I'm still divorcing her. Oddly enough, a comment that senior homes have chlamydia outbreaks for me too made me laugh and realize that I could date again at this age. Plus, you guys gave me some very nice compliments, so thank you for those. After my final update on the original post, I talked to Andrea deep into the night. She went back and forth with me on admitting to Cassie what she did. She said that she or even both of us could get loans and take care of the money then. I said she had a problem and she needed to make amends, which was a talking point from here. When I threatened her with divorce, she agreed to tell her so long as I don't divorce her. I guess she's afraid of losing everything. That afternoon, we sat Cassie down and told her the facts. She thought we were just kidding at first, but when she realized that we weren't kidding, she got extremely upset. I'll spare you the details, but she and Andrea got into an extremely loud and vicious shouting match. Cassie called her some truly awful names, and Andrea, while she didn't curse at her, tried to defend herself but started getting angry at the names she was being called. They were so loud the neighbors called the police. I had to awkwardly explain the situation to them while hoping they didn't think I was some kind of wife beater. Cassie told Andrea that she never wanted to speak to her again, and that she never wanted a dime of her money, and stormed off. I asked Andrea at this point to stay with her sister indefinitely while we gave Cassie and me some space. She didn't want to go and fought me to stay, but I told her me and Cassie needed time apart from her. So she packed her stuff and went to her sister's house. As for Cassie, she went to her room and locked the door. She let me in after I told her that her mother had left. She cried in my arms and expressed that her future was now ruined. I told her it wasn't, that I would cover her college from my retirement, and that I would make it right. She doesn't exactly know what a 401k is yet, but she told me that she doesn't want me to work until I'm 90, like the people at Walmart, just because of her. I just told her that she's worth it, and that you do stupid things for the people you love. She said that she would start looking for scholarships and maybe other schools where she could get a full ride since she has excellent grades and extracurriculars. I then admitted Andrea wanted me to take the fall for her and that I had considered it, but I came to my senses. She got upset with me and told me that would have been the stupidest thing I could have done. Agreed. She said she wouldn't have believed that I did it anyway, and it would have only made her more upset at her mother. She told me that she doesn't blame me and she's not mad at me for the money being gone, but she is mad that I'd want to cover for her mother. I apologize for that. We talked and cuddled for a while longer before calling it a night. The next morning, I get a call from Andrea's parents asking if the story was true. Cassie had told them the story and they were calling to confirm. I had the voice recordings and bank statement to prove it. They were livid, but begged me to not leave Andrea for this and to try to help her through the addiction. I told them I wasn't sure about that yet and hung up. A while later, my parents called and asked me about it. I confirmed. They were probably more mad than Cassie was, all things considered. They're threatening to press charges. I told them to calm down and that I would handle it. Cassie is doing okay. She's still a little shell-shocked, but she seems to be taking it well as one could hope. I made her pancakes this morning, and that seemed to brighten her mood up a bit. I asked her if she wants to do therapy. She said she'll think about it. I will be doing therapy for myself. Andrea has been calling to talk, but I'm just letting it ring. So she's leaving voicemails. She's offering anything to make it right. Money, sex, favors, you name it, but it's not going to work. I feel horrible for Cassie, and especially so close to Christmas. I think I'm going to get her Billie Eilish tickets since that's her god. It won't make up for it at all, but it could go a long way to helping her feel better. So that's it for now. I guess I'll update if anything further happens, but I think that's pretty much it. Thanks all. You've been a tremendous help. Edit, I forgot to add. I watched my credit like a hawk, so there was nothing suspicious there, but it's going to be locked. I'll be going to my accountant next week to have Andrea removed from everything meaningful, life insurance, will, bank accounts, etc., and I'll be adding Cassie. I started changing passwords and the like so Andrea doesn't have access. I'm stringing Andrea along with non-divorce until my accounts are secure. Also, from what I can tell, Cassie's credit is okay, but I'll be doing a deep scan and locking that as well. Edit, I can't believe I have to say this, but there's a few people saying it's creepy that I'm cuddling with my daughter. If sitting together with her crying on my shoulder and us talking is considered creepy, then sure, I'm creepy. Leave it to the internet to make things weird, I guess. And no, I don't think I'm some hero, just trying to do the right thing. Comments splitting things in the divorce. We have a prenup since she has money as well, so no fears there. We have separate finances and the only major asset that we have is the house. I'm willing to buy out her half so I can own it fully. Comment, don't cash in your retirement, make Andrea sell her stuff. Sorry, forgot to put in the post. She doesn't want to sell her stuff and just offering to get a loan. She shouldn't get a choice to not sell. You are letting this woman ruin your future. Why is this worth it? The answer is Cassie. She's smart, wise beyond her years in some regards, but still a teenager in many others. She's very proud and refused her mother's money. Asked her if she wanted the car. She said no. Asked if she would be okay with her mother paying her back. She said no. Like I said in the post, she wants nothing to do with her mother anymore, and that includes her money. That's probably just anger talking, and I'm hoping cooler heads will prevail. But I think there's a part of her that's embracing the challenge of figuring this out on her own, or at least without her mother's money. As for me, if Andrea wants all that stuff so bad that she's choosing it over us, then she can have it. We'll be great without her. So in a way, she's paying for all that stuff in the most precious way with her marriage and most importantly, her child. Comment, you're letting her walk all over you. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't view it as her walking all over me. She lost her marriage, her daughter, her family is furious with her, and her friends will likely drop her when they hear what she's done and realize she's not as wealthy as she appears to be. To me, that seems like a real consequences. I'm a big fan of the Twilight Zone, and this seems like one of those endings where the person gets what they want, but doesn't realize what they had to give up to get it. She can have her possessions. It just cost her everything to get it. To quote Jake the Snake Roberts, she's a victim of her own greed, wallowing in the muck of her own avarice. Plus, she'll likely end up getting sued by my parents anyway, and if Cassie decides she wants her money, then I'll support her fully in getting it. My retirement will be fine. Let's just say my portfolio is very diverse and healthy, plus I have an inheritance. I'm not bragging, just stating facts. Plus, there's the chance Cassie gets a scholarship or assistance. Okay, now the update. Updates, September 6th, 2023, 8.5 months later. Hello everyone, it's been a long time since I've been here and a lot has happened, and the truth be told, I haven't had the time to post an update here. But I finally have a quiet moment to give you an update. First, I want to thank everyone for helping me at such a pivotal time in my life. After rereading my original threads, I can't believe how indecisive and weak I came off in them. The prospect of my marriage ending and dying alone really kind of shook me to my core and thus made me come off that way. I started therapy, and it made me realize that being single wasn't the worst thing that could happen to me. In fact, I've turned my loneliness into solitude, and I've taken the time to work on myself. Nice. And if that last sentence didn't tip you off, then let me be the first to tell you that I'm single now. Me and Andrea are legally separated and currently in divorce mediation. Unfortunately, Andrea is still very much in denial and is trying everything she can to get me back, including delaying the divorce as much as possible so that we can work on our marriage. She claims that she's begun seeing a therapist who's helped her see the problem she has and has gotten her on the path to recovery. I don't know if I should buy it. That's funny. But I told her it's a good thing if it's true. She has also apologized to my parents, hers and her late husband's parents, for what she's done and offered to pay back the money. They've all forgiven her but are keeping her at an arm's length. She's been desperate to reconnect with Cassie, but Cassie has kept her word and decided to never speak to her mother again, or at least until she's ready to. Andrea's wealthy friends she was so desperate to impress have been around our house offering to help. They may be nosy busybodies, but they were very nice to me and Cassie in the immediate aftermath of Andrea's betrayal. They offered everything from a shoulder to cry on to baked goods to spa dates. I only ever really took them up on the baked goods because I will never turn down homemade lemon bars and oatmeal raisin cookies. Cassie did take them up on spa dates, so there's that. One woman in particular, Susan, has been around more often than the others. While I feel like the other friends were prying for information, she seemed more genuine and just there to help me and Cassie heal. She cooked meals for us, helped around the house, and just spent a lot of quality time with me in particular. We didn't ask, want, or need her to do any of this for us, but she did it out of the kindness of her heart, and I really appreciate it. We've gotten a lot closer in such a short time, and I truly consider her a friend. It's actually amazing that I could get along with someone who's much younger than me, 14 years. Usually I have a hard time connecting with younger people, even if they're adults. But now we get to the most important part of the update, Cassie. As a cheer-up Christmas gift, I took her and one of her friends to Montreal last month to see her favorite artist, Billie Eilish, at this festival. She loved it, and Montreal is such a beautiful city to visit. All in all, she took the loss of her college fund pretty well. Cassie is a very hard-working person, and she put her nose to the grindstone trying to find a scholarship. Unfortunately, she missed the cutoff for most of the scholarships she could have qualified for, but the school of her choice is giving a very generous financial aid package. In addition, she qualified for some local grants, so she got her entire first year covered. And yes, Cassie did thankfully get into her school of choice. In fact, she had many acceptance letters and full ride offers, but she had her heart set on her school of choice. In fact, I dropped her off last week. I'm extremely proud of her, and I know she'll do well. I'm an empty nester now, all alone in this big house, and the silence is deafening. But Susan has been around to keep me company, and I've taken up bike riding as a hobby. So all in all, things are okay. Not great, but certainly better than before. And with that, I think I can put this saga to bed. The divorce will hopefully be finalized in the next few months, and I can finally move on with my life. But the most important thing is that Cassie is fulfilling her dreams and potential, and I couldn't be happier about that.